Hi, welcome or welcome back to another episode of Then We Eat. It's springtime and the fruits and vegetables are starting to grow in the garden. So on this week's episode, we're going to be making Rhubarb Crisp. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our pan ready. So I'm going to lightly grease a baking dish. This is the one I'm using. Should be about an 8x8, thereabouts. And I'm just going to lightly spray it with oil. It's just regular cooking oil. You can use butter, whatever you need to use. This is just going to prevent our rhubarb from sticking to the bottom. So we'll put our pan aside. And now it's time to prepare our rhubarb. So you're going to need about 2 pounds of rhubarb. That's about this much. This is fresh rhubarb. I just went out to the garden and cut it just a few minutes ago. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it into 1/4 inch pieces. I'm just going to move some of the rhubarb off the cutting boards to make it easier to cut. So you want about 1/4 inch thick. Well, that's part of it cut up. I'm going to put this in a bowl while I cut the rest. I forgot to mention I also have my oven preheated to 375. So we've got our rhubarb all cut up. Before we carry on to the next step, I have some pears lying around. I'm just going to cut these up and I'm going to put them in as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to peel them and then I'll cut them up and add them to the rhubarb. There's my pears and I'm just going to cut them in half. Cut them in half again. I'm going to take the core out of the middle. So there's a bit of a core. I'm just going to cut that out after I cut it in half. And we'll just slice it down there. So these are the pieces that we ended up with. So I'm just going to cut them in half and then cut them in chunks like that. And in they go. I'm just going to put this aside for a minute. Now the next thing I need the rind of 1 orange and the juice of 1 orange. So what I need is actually a tablespoon of rind and a tablespoon of fresh squeezed orange juice. So I'm going to grate this orange, get as much rind off as I can, and then I'm going to squeeze it. And when you're grating an orange, you just want to grate the rind off. You don't want to grate the white pith that's underneath it, because that's very bitter, and it's going to make whatever you're making very bitter. So you just want to give it a light rub on your rasp. You can see what I've zested off. You can still see that there's orange underneath it and not white. So there's my rind. I'm going to add my zest to my rhubarb. Now I'm going to juice my orange. So I only need 1 tablespoon of orange juice. I think I've got that. So since I was a little bit shy on my zest, I'm going to add a little bit more juice. So I need the 1 tablespoon. And we'll throw in about another half a teaspoon. That was another half a tablespoon. To that, we're going to add 1/4 cup of white sugar and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and I want some nutmeg. I'm just going to grate it in there. I'm looking at about a half a teaspoon. So I'll stop when I think I've got a half a teaspoon. So there's my rhubarb all mixed together. I'm going to put it in my prepared baking dish. Now that looks like a lot of rhubarb, but it will cook down. So I'm going to put this off to the side, and it's now time to start making the topping. I'm going to add 1/2 cup of flour, 1/4 cup of butter. My butter's been softened. 1/2 cup of brown sugar. I have just over 1/2 cup of oatmeal, and the same amount of walnuts. 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. Now you want to mix this with a pastry cutter. This is a pastry cutter. You want to mix it so that it's like little about the size of a pea. You can use your hands. You just have to be very careful that your hands don't melt the butter and make clumps. That's why I'm using the pastry cutter, so that I don't melt the butter and make it into one big blob. That's the consistency that you're looking for. You can see that it's still loose. If I reach down and grab some and squeezed it together, it holds together for the most part. You don't want it to be a large clump, or it's not going to bake very well on your Rhubarb Crisp. So I'm just going to put this off to the side for a minute. Our Rhubarb Crisp is quite full, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook the pan on a cookie sheet. So I'm going to line it with some tin foil so that it doesn't burn to the bottom. So this is how I'm going to cook it. So any of the juices will drip into the pan. It'll hit the tin foil and you'll have easy cleanup. So now let's add some of that topping to the top of our rhubarb. Okay, so some of the filling fell out into the pan. That's okay. Now I'm going to bake this in the 375-degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes. Pop it in the oven and we'll see you when it's cooked. And welcome back. Our crisp is out of the oven. It's been out of the oven for a few minutes now. I've let it cool a little bit. I did end up cooking it longer than the 25 to 30 minutes. I think I had it in closer to 50 minutes. At the 30-minute mark, I just kept checking to make sure that my rhubarb was cooked by just sticking a knife in, and if it was still hard, it wasn't cooked. So you may have to cook it a little bit longer depending on your type of rhubarb. And now for my favorite part, tasting. So good. You get the nice flavor from the rhubarb. The topping on top is absolutely fantastic. And I think I can actually taste some of the pear in there. Overall, this is fantastic. And you really get the taste of the nutmeg, just a hint at the very end. So good. Well, that pretty much does it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you liked the video. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already. And hit the notification bell. It lets you know when we upload a new video, which we do every Friday. And don't forget to leave a comment down below and like the video. And don't forget, first we cook, then we eat.